What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another EU4 time lapse, and we've got a fun one here for you today. This idea actually came from Forks the Fox with the comment, I kind of want to see a time lapse of a random nation with no buffs, owning the world from day one and seeing it completely collapse in 5 days. What I have done here is had Ulm annex the world. They do not have cores anywhere except for in their home provinces. The result of this is an Ulm with 14,700 overextension, resulting in negative 735 national unrest and a horde of other negative modifiers. What I'm most curious to see here is if they are able to actually core some areas, and we could see Ulm with like little bits of territory here and there and all over the place. And with that, sit back, enjoy the time lapse of Ulm, at least temporarily, owning the world. Now, what we notice here really early on is a bunch of countries just popped out. Ming, Timurids, Ottoman, England, Mamluks. These are big countries. Those are vassals as Ulm is trying to figure out its governing capacity. The little countries, I believe they are either rebelling or Ulm is straight up releasing them because it doesn't want anything to do with them. Some of the larger countries now, they might actually be getting their freedom. And we're going to see countries continue to slowly pop out, and some Native Americans have popped out. But one of the interesting things is, we are, 40 years into this time lapse, and Ulm is still huge. Although they completely, Japan is just what I would expect out of Japan. Now, what is going to be really interesting about this timeline, and this is something to think about as we go, and we'll take a look at this at the end, is Ulm is so in debt with trying to handle everything that it's dealing with that it is being forced to spend all of its monarch points on trying to stabilize its country, whether that's dealing with rebels, whether it's dealing with war exhaustion from civil wars or invasions, whatnot. They are spending all of their points on that. Now, at the end of this time lapse, the remnants of Ulm is tech level 3. And the reason I even mention that now is every single country, when it pops out of Ulm, starts at tech level 3 because a country adopts the tech level of the country that it gets its freedom from. Now, why is that a thing? Well, if the Ottomans popped out at the very beginning, they've been building their tech level up. Now, say QQ was to pop out now right next to them, the Ottomans might be tech 3, but QQ might be tech... The Ottomans might be tech 20, but QQ might be tech 3. That's where it's going to be really interesting. The countries that got their independence first have a huge advantage over the countries that are getting their independence later on. England has almost completely wiped out France, and that is honestly not that surprising because England had such a big boost over France. Mughals forming, I did not see that coming. That is really cool. I did not expect to see that. I'm just shocked. Like, as I was sort of keeping track of things and seeing what was going on, the fact that Ulm was still holding together such a large portion of its territory, almost 150 years into this time lapse, is absolutely crazy. Aragon appears to be taking Iberia. That's kind of cool. We don't usually see them be the ones to really make that push. England has actually taken a little bit of Ireland. That's also kind of cool. What is that green country? It's probably a Japanese country that seems to be taking large portions of Japan. Zhao just got their independence. We'll see if the hordes can build up their power in the Manchu region over there. And Ulm is still at least holding its power base in Germany. And I would guess by this point, because all of their admin points is going to coring, I would have to guess they're trying to core as much territory as they can possibly do just to be able to hold their base together, because they're much less likely to lose territory if they have cores on it. But even as we're here, heading into the mid to late 1600s, they still control, their base of power has shrunk a lot. They still control quite a bit of the New World. They control Germany, they control Scandinavia, and they control the Tartary region. What I do find interesting is they lost Africa so quickly. Like, they had zero hold over the African region. And it does look like that Tartary region, they are starting to lose. Scandinavia, Norway has popped out, and actually a lot of those North American regions, they are now starting to lose some of those North American tribes. and the Mamluks took the remnants of the territory that they had in the Saudi Arabian region. And also, you'll notice here countries starting to expand and push Ulm. Because Ulm is only tech level 3, anyone who has even a couple of tech levels on them is going to be able to push them and start just straight up taking territory from them rather than trying to take territory from formerly Ulm colonies. I believe the New World at this point is completely free of the powerhouse that is Ulm. And Asia only has, we see Ulm, Mongolia, and it looks like there might be a little bit in Western China. But other than that, Ulm has almost been completely kicked out of Asia. Ruthenia and Krakow being the dominant powers in Poland is kind of interesting given that Poland and Lithuania both had their freedom relatively early on. And so to see that sort of dominant Krakow, that's kind of cool. I like that Nogai at this point is just Russia. Like, there is no difference between Nogai and formerly Russia. Mamluks are strong. The Mamluks basically ate up the Ottomans, and that is going to be a beast. That Aragon's really nice too. And I do kind of like the Aragon with the sort of that French-British border there because they look so similar. At this point, England does appear to be engaging in a little bit of a colonial game. We see that in South America. We see that in Mexico. We see that in South Africa. So we are starting to see a little bit of that colonial game going on. And Japan has formed, so good on Japan to have formed. Zhengzhar, I don't recognize Zhengzhar north of China there. I wonder if that is one of those countries that it can appear where they get a randomly generated name, because that is not something that I recognize. Krakow is strong. That is cool. Even that Nitra, where sort of normally Hungary would be, this is not the first video where we've seen a consolidated Nitra at the end. And I love Finland just getting in at the very end. Finland was like, wait a minute, don't forget about me. I'm here. All right, let's check this out. Kind of surprisingly, Ulm survived to the very end. That Krakow is beautiful. Revolutionary Great Britain with the perfect border with Aragon. Bulgaria existing is another kind of cool one. I like that. Hey, the AI formed Zimbabwe. That's awesome. The AI was able to form the Inca, which isn't surprising given how late colonialism came in, but the British really took advantage of the fact that nobody else was in a position to colonize. Yes, that is Mamelukian California. Yeah, so not only did the Mamelukes take California, but they also went for Australia and New Zealand. This is actually one of the strongest Mings that we've seen at the end of a time lapse in a long time. And I'm guessing it's because they didn't have sort of so many external forces, they just had a really weak Ulm. I have never seen this nation of Karelia. And this is one of the things that I was hoping to see with having one country control it all. Because there was a worry that it was just everything was going to pop out and it was literally just going to be the 1444 map. But instead we've got Sapmi, we've got Karelia, we've got the Funge Caucasus. Okay, now I've seen everything. But I was hoping, and we got exactly what I was hoping for, which was to see countries that don't exist at the start of the game, and leads to, honestly, this really cool map. Religiously, the world isn't changed all that much. I would have to say the most interesting aspect of this is the fact that Protestantism does not seem to exist, and neither does Reformed. Oh, there's a little bit of Protestantism in northern Germany, but that is Anglican and Catholic, and that's basically it. Dynastically, not a whole bunch to see here. It looks like a lot of country actually went democratic. But one of the things that I'm finding most interesting about is the Osmangalus exist. While the Ottoman Empire got destroyed, they appear to have gone and formed the nation of Funge. Developmentally, North and South America are a mess. Africa is sort of what we would expect, and Asia are sort of what we would expect, as well as Europe. But that North and South America just being almost entirely devastated, they had no development for most of the game because Ulm. And finally, our great powers of the world. We have got in first place Revolutionary Great Britain with almost 3,000 development. The Mughals with 2,300. The Mamluks with almost 2,000. Ming with 1,793. Krakow with 1,239. Aragon with 1,000. Nogai with 574. And the Ternate pulling up the rear with 549 development. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching. I had a lot of fun with this video. This one was actually a process to make as I had to go and annex every single country independently. It was a lot of typing. So do make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment with something you would like to see next, and I'll see you all in the next one. Reef out.